And I'd like to talk to you about your project. Or your business, actually, right? Would you call it a business or a project?
You know, I still refer to it as a project.
Okay.
Because it's sort of a passion as well. And we started in 2012. My wife and I have been watching the movie Calendar Girls. And we stopped the video partway through because in the back of my mind I was thinking, you know, there's gorgeous women in this film, and I've seen so many gorgeous women down here. And I stopped the video and I looked at my wife Jacqueline and I said, you know what? I think we could produce a calendar like the one in the movie, only with older women. Because I figured most of them are retired, they've got to be 60 or over. And so anyway, we kind of shined off that idea and went back to the movie. But then a few weeks later, I was at a friend's party. And so a lot of the women were there that I knew. So I went around and I said, hey, you're going to get naked for me and pose for the calendar like the one in the movie Calendar Girls? And they good-heartedly say, yeah, sure, yeah, okay, yeah, I'll pose for you, Chuck. Well, the host of the party, my friend Michael, was walking from pod to pod of people, and he got the gist of our conversation, and he kind of put his finger in the air, and he disappeared. And he came back a minute later with a calendar in his hand. And I looked at it. And as my mouth dropped and my eyes were popping, he said, is this what you want to do? And I said, that's an original Ladies of Rylstone calendar. I said, yeah, that's it. So then I went around and started showing the women the calendar, and I said, hey, this is what you're going to be doing. Well, there weren't enough exits in Michael's place for the rush that went out of the place at that point. They changed their mind quickly.
So yeah, I was going to say, I was like, okay, it was one thing is just like a concept, but all of a sudden you're like, okay, like we're going to do this.
Yeah, when they saw the seriousness with which I came back with the calendar, they said, wait a minute, this guy's serious. No, that's not going to be me.
So you got the inspiration of doing this, and now you're actually starting to put the wheels in motion, and this and now you're going to try to find the people that you're going to, or the women, you know, the beautiful women that you're going to put into this calendar. So that couldn't have been easy. Well,
yeah, at that point, although the women said no, they didn't really run out of the building, but they just said, no, I couldn't do that. But I loved the idea. And there were about 50 people there, and everybody said, yeah, great idea. Why don't you do it? So Michael loaned me his calendar. And I thought, well, I'll ask for real. So I was invited to Ladies at Lunch. And there were about 12 women there, and I passed the calendar around, and I told them what I wanted to do. And 8 of them said yes.
Really?
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
2 of them dropped out, but 6 of them eventually did. And in the interim, we had put together cost estimates of what it would cost to produce calendars. And
had you ever done anything like this before?
Had never done anything like it before. So the budget I put together was very wanting, to say the least, on top of which we didn't have any money, but we didn't let that stop us. But the biggest thing was while I was trying to get the models, I was also looking for a photographer, and I couldn't get one. They either couldn't or wouldn't do what I wanted to do, the way I wanted to shoot the women. So I was about to give up on the project. And a videographer friend of mine from San Jose was down here, and I'd worked with him on his project a little bit. And he said, Chuck, how's your calendars going? And I said, they're not. He said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, I can't get a photographer. So he said, well, why don't you be the photographer? I said, I'm not a photographer. I said, I don't even have a camera. But he planted a seed. And a couple days later, I stopped in to see my friend Ron Sharp at the Photo Art Gallery in town. Same thing. Chuck, how's your project going? I said, Ron, it isn't. I said, can't get a photographer. I said, but a friend suggested I be the photographer, but I don't have a camera. Well, here comes a finger in the air again. So Ron disappeared into his back room. He came back a minute later, had this beautiful camera, and he was holding it out toward me. And I said, nice camera, Ron, but I said, I don't have any money. He shoved it in my hand, turned me around, was pushing me out the door, and he said, look, pay what you can, when you can, get the hell out of my shop and go do your project. So I became the photographer.
It seems like the universe was kind of lining everything up for you. I mean, because how people just don't put cameras in front of people like that. It felt like, it feels like that everything was kind of coming in place for this to happen.
Yeah, it turned out that when my friends disappear into another room, they come back with goodies. So
How fortunate! And so, did you start? Did you start learning about photography, or how did you get to? Because I know we're doing real estate, so taking pictures is not easy. You know, I've tried to attempt it a few times myself, and there's an art to being able to take a good photograph.
yeah, well, what I did was I took the original calendar, the Ladies of Rylstone, and selected some of the poses, and I got my wife, who's very beautiful, and I said, I need you to be a model for me. I said, let me see if I can emulate or replicate the shots in the calendar. The Torres at Rosarito Beach Hotel let me use their, I forget what the name of that room is, but it's the one near the spa with all the beautiful tile work in it.
Okay, yes.
So we shot in there, and actually, that very day, I shot the cover of our first calendar. But we just went in as to try it, to see how I could do. Well, the photos came out pretty decent, and I had a few people who were photographers look at them, and they said, these are nice. So I figured, okay, well, maybe I can do it. So I kept recruiting, and we started doing photo shoots. So who was some of the
initial photographs done with? These weren't previous models. None of these women had done modeling before, had they?
No, over the years, we did this for 5 years. There were 91 women that we filmed. I think 2 of them had done a little bit of nude modeling.
You photoed 91 women?
91 women.
And how long of a period of a time?
5 years.
Okay, wow. That's amazing. That's a lot of people. They must have really been. I don't know how to say, I guess, but to be able to go and convince 91 women to be able to do this, that's congratulations on that.
Yeah, well, like the first year, because it was brand new, it was a different concept down here.
Can I ask you, what would you tell them? Like, what would you tell them to do this?
Like the first meeting of the ladies at lunch.
Okay.
I showed them the calendar, and I showed them the poses, and I said, this is what I want to do. And I said, I'm going to feature the women of Baja, and I didn't have a name for the project at that point. I played with beautiful and pretty and striking and lovely, and I worked and worked and worked on a name, and eventually I kept gravitating to gorgeous. Now, dictionary definition means gorgeous is like absolutely gorgeous. That's like the pinnacle. And not every woman is necessarily what you would say pretty. Some you'd say are striking, some you'd say are beautiful, some are lovely, but to me, there was more to it wasn't just the outside, it was also the inside. These women were coming and posing with 6, 7, and 8 decades of life behind them. So many experiences and stories, we'll talk about that in a little bit, that said something different to me. And it said to me that they're gorgeous on the outside and they're gorgeous on the inside. So I think we need to get Wikipedia to put in a new definition
change that,
of gorgeous.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I think that, because like they say, beauty is only skin deep, right? I mean,
right.
So these people that you were filming, they have probably all had their own stories. I'm sure had a lifetime of stories behind them. Did you feature their stories with their photos in the articles?
We changed the style of the calendars every year. Because every year I had different numbers of models. For example, the first year I thought I was only going to produce 1 calendar. But 39 women came forward to be in calendars. So I thought, holy smokes, what am I going to do? Because an interesting thing is that any woman who ever came to us and said, I want to be in a calendar, was in the calendar. We didn't screen.
Really?
Nope, we didn't pick by size or shape or looks or anything.
How would you do that? Because there's only obviously 12 months in the year, so...
Well, so for the first year, I had 2 women per month. And so then I had to figure out what to do with the calendar grid, the 31 days or 30 days of the month. And I thought, well, I don't want to cover up one model with the grid and the other one gets an unmarred picture. So we went with 2 weeks per model. And so we split it. And then another year we had, again, a preponderance of models. So that time we did just like a line of the dates down the side. So like January 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th through the 15th, and then 16th, down on the other one. Here's an example. So we split the grid.
Oh, I see. So you split the months in half.
Right.
And gave it in, okay.
So now in this one, there wasn't room for a story.
And these are all shot in Rosarito Beach?
No, from Rosarito to down to as far as La Bufadora.
But in Mexico. So
Oh, yeah.
these were all done
Yeah.
in Mexico.
All done in Mexico.
Okay.
Yeah, Rosarito, Ensenada, Punta Banda, La Bufadora, and then this last year we did San Felipe.
Okay.
And we've had a couple of models out of the Guadalupe Valley.
How would you choose the locations that you were going to be filming at?
It was 99% of the time it was the model's home.
Okay.
And in so many cases, the majority of cases, I never met the model until the day I showed up to shoot her. I didn't know what the setting was going to be. I didn't know what the lighting was, what kind of props we had, inside, outside. It was, we just kind of created what we needed when we were there.
And not all of them are completely nude, and some of them are
No.
covered up. And so this is I'll actually be able to show some of these on the video, which is wonderful.
Yeah, actually, it was up to the models how much they wanted to show.
Thank you for watching our video. If you're planning on buying, selling, or renting in the Rosarito Beach area, please give us a call.